Hey, everybody, what's going on? Rob Sesternino back with you for a special podcast here today because we love to talk to people who are big Survivor fans, and especially when they're not necessarily in our already existing bubble. And so Brandon Donlin reached out to an influencer, a content creator, Bran Flakezz, who has some extremely viral Survivor content, but has all sorts of other content that he's been creating across TikTok, Instagram, and podcasts galore. Welcome, Bran Flakezz.
I'm like freaking out, Rob. I've been watching you probably for like 15 years.
15 years. Wow.
Yeah,
So you've been around for a minute,
I've
and
been around for a minute.
I have seen the footage of your Survivor themed bar mitzvah from
Yep.
way back when. And so I know,
Yep.
are you a OG Survivor fan going back to when?
I'm an OG Survivor fan. I started at season 2, and been watching ever since. We'll get into it. I have recently fallen off the wagon. I've
Oh
not watched
no,
the last 4 seasons. The last season I watched was the one that D won. What was that? Season 45.
45.
Yeah. I hopped off after
Brandon season.
45. Yes, I hopped off after Brandon's season. We can get into what went into that decision and if I will come back.
Okay.
But yes, huge Survivor fan, huge Big Brother fan, huge The Challenge fan. That's my holy trinity, but I've also stopped watching The Challenge. Big Brother, it's like I always watch the first 3 weeks and I'm like, I can't devote this much time to it. And then I just keep up with the live feeds and
Yeah.
like the Twitter updates. But the last season of Big Brother was great. I loved it. But I've been struggling with modern day Survivor a little bit.
Okay. And would love to explore that. Can you talk about the challenge? Because I feel like I know a lot of the reasons why people might be dissatisfied with
Yeah.
modern day Survivor, but I feel like that I am not so much in the challenge universe to know is there also like any sort of like hand wringing in the
Yeah.
challenge community?
I think like my issue with the challenge was they started just casting so many people that like were on one episode of like Love Island Germany, and now you're eligible to be on the challenge, where it's like it used to be only MTV shows. And I was okay when they started pulling over CBS people because I'm a CBS fan. So I like loved seeing the Big Brother Survivor people. But like when it started becoming like, oh my God, all these different people from all these different networks, I just didn't understand the story behind it.
Mhm.
And the great thing about the challenge was it was a competition show that was just as much a soap opera because it was like people that have been on these shows for 20 years, like legacy people. And it just started to just change. And they got really like, oh, we're America's fifth sport. And it kind of got rid of all like the kind of fun of the show. And it made it super like movie explosions and in your face. And I was just like, can we just get
Right.
back to hot people in bikinis getting
Too
drunk and
much gravitas on
too
the
much
challenge.
dramatized? Yeah. So
Yes.
I started kind of falling off on that. And also, they just do like 9 different spinoffs. I'm like, what am I watching? Am I watching the Challenge USA? Am I watching the Challenge All Stars that's on Paramount? Am I watching the Real Challenge? And it just was really hard to keep up with.
Okay. All right. Thank you for all that. Before we get into the survivor of it all, could you just
Yeah.
give us a little bit more about your backstory and how
Yes.
you came to prominence?
Yeah, so my name's Brandon. I am from Philadelphia, PA, born and raised in like the
Just
suburbs.
like Brandon Donlin.
Yes, lived in the city for the last 10 years. It was funny. I worked in the fashion industry and I started posting on social media because I wanted to go on reality TV. And this was in like 2021, where I felt like everyone that was getting cast for like Big Brother was like kind of already influencers. So I was like, okay, I got to do this. But then I actually like fell in love with posting on TikTok, and it kind of during that time, I was actually in the final round for a show that went on Netflix called 20 Somethings, which was like a real
Yes. 20
world-esque type of.
somethings Austin.
Yes. So I
Hmm.
was interviewing for that. I didn't get picked, which
I
was
heard
fine.
that wasn't real.
Yeah, I heard it was a flop.
Uh-huh.
Bullet
I don't
dodged.
know about ratings. But I don't know how if it was like how real it was. But
Okay.
okay, so you wanted to be on Big Brother? Is that like
Yes.
a okay? And
My dream was to be on Big Brother. So I
mhm.
was like posting and I was like, okay, I need to get like viral on TikTok so that like the casting people take me seriously. But then I just ended up becoming a full-time
Yeah.
TikToker.
And I guess there were some people that like were big TikTok type people that were on, like even like Cam from last season is like
Yep.
has like a TikTok following.
Yeah, a lot of people were getting casts that were like had
Hmm.
even just like 15,000 followers. So I was like, I just need to get noticed. And like kind
Hmm.
of because it's so hard when you apply to these shows, you get one application and a 1 minute video. And I'm like, there's no way I can show all of my personality in that. So if I have a social media page that they can flip through TikTok videos of myself to get more of that full picture, that will give me such an advantage. But I ended up,
Gotcha.
I've never even applied. I applied once, I think, for Big Brother, like
You
six.
were hoping they would find you.
I wanted to be recruited. I was like, I want to
Mhm.
be a recruited person that's a secret super fan.
Yeah. Okay. So Big Brother is very important to you, but would you say that was Survivor your true love?
Survivor was my true love. That's what got me into the reality TV sphere. Like I will never forget it. I was 4 years old, crying my eyes out when Elizabeth Hasselbeck was voted off at the
Yeah.
final four of Survivor Australia. I loved Elizabeth. I was like, it's so funny now I can't stand her. But then
Yeah.
I was crying my eyes out as a little
She
kid.
really was like, larger than life figure in
Hmm.
that season. And people
Yeah.
really did have this incredible relationship with her.
With
But you would be,
Roger. Yeah.
would you have been annoyed if she was on Survivor 50? Because
No, I
they,
actually really wanted her on Survivor 50, which I know is like such a hot take
I
given her.
wanted her on Survivor 50 also.
I wanted to see that arc and I wanted to see how she would have done on it. But was that like legit? Was she really in
I
contention?
don't know. Well, I
Well,
think that there was certainly a lot of smoke, but then she posted a video where she said,
I'm not doing that.
oh my God. Yeah,
she's like,
I
fun
thought
summer update. Well, Survivor 50, well,
I'm not doing
I'm
that.
not doing that. She's like, I'm going to be at the pool with snacks, but she wasn't even like, I don't know where people are getting this from. It's a cool show, but no, I'm past that. She was just like very like dismissive about it. Like almost
yeah,
like,
it's giving there was
no,
some bad
they,
blood.
yeah, it seemed like a little, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's what I do.
No. Yeah, and you know what? I don't think she would have done well. I don't
No, I
think
don't think so.
for a multitude of reasons. And we can
You
talk
don't
about
think that Elizabeth has her finger on the pulse of like when to play the shot in the dark and the beware advantage and going on the journey and voting splits?
100%. One, she definitely doesn't watch the show, and we've just seen that the old school people with 40 got their asses handed to them. But two, I just think in modern woke day Survivor, and you have Elizabeth Hasselbeck, who's the anti-woke, I think they would have. I honestly think she could have been first boot. So it's probably for the best that she's not on there.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody's been talking about the Survivor 50 cast, and you were telling me before we came on that you have big feelings about
I'm a
Survivor 50.
hater. Is it
Yeah.
bad to say I'm a hater? I'm
You
a
can
hater.
say whatever you want.
Listen, here's the thing. It's just like, this is where I'm gonna maybe, and you'll have to tell me if this is the popular opinion.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with Ozzy and Cirie. I don't need to see them play again. I don't. They've played, what is this, Ozzy's sixth time?
No, it's for both of them. It's going to be their record-tying 5th time back on the show.
That's like too much.
Too many times.
It's too many times. And like, because here's where I feel it goes one of two ways. It goes either we have to see them lose again, and one of them's going to lose again. One of them is, at least
they
one.
both can't win.
They both can't win. Or you get this win, but like, is it really like, it kind of reminds me of when Rob won Redemption Island. It's like they had to cast him for, sorry, I'll be so transparent. I'm a Boston Rob hater. But they had to cast him for the 4th time up against one of the dumbest casts you've ever had. And it's like, oh, he played such an epic game. Did he? Did he though? Or did they just literally tailor it for him to win? I'm gonna get shit for that, but I don't care. So that's just how
I'll push
I
back a
feel.
little bit. It is very hard to win Survivor, and so that
100%.
he did do a great job.
did.
But also that it was, you make a good point, was not the fiercest competition.
Was
But
not the fiercest. And I don't know. For me, I thought Cirie closed her chapter beautifully with the Traitors. That was her game.
then she did Big Brother after that.
True. She did do Big Brother after that. I kind of forgot about that, Rob. But she did a good job on Big Brother. She's a mastermind. And I just, I'm always gonna want her, but I think this cast that she's up against, I'm like, I don't know. Like her and Ozzy, I feel like are the biggest names. I'm like, is that gonna go well? Are they either gonna be the first boots or are they gonna like kind of get to the end? Like, I
Okay.
don't know.
So you feel like, okay, 5-timers, you didn't need to see that. What about Coach? Is there too much Coach for you?
There's not too much Coach for me because number one, Coach has had a big break. What was the last time he was on? 26?
27 seasons ago. So he was on
Yeah.
season 23 in South Pacific.
Season
And
23. That's
Cirie and
a
Ozzy both did come
big
back
game changer.
for Game Changers.
Yeah. So for me, that feels like a long enough distance. And also, Coach is like such a crazy personality. Like I could watch all of them again. I love them. It's just I wish they were then surrounded by other people that I felt that way about. And I think for me, because I didn't watch the last 5 seasons and half the
Yeah.
cast is from the last 5 seasons, it's hard for me to compartmentalize. Okay, so we have a majority of this cast that is playing for the second time going up against random people who have now been playing 4 or 5 times. It feels a little imbalanced and it feels a little random.
It does feel imbalanced. And to me, though, I feel like that the imbalance is, I think I would have opted for more people, maybe that we're seeing one too many times, as opposed to
Yeah.
people that were saying, like, well, why are they getting a second chance? I do feel like that the show is going for that. They're saying, like, hey, you didn't know Boston Rob was going to be Boston Rob when you didn't know Parvati was going to be Parvati when we brought her back. Maybe we're about to give you the next legend for the next generation of Survivor that
Yeah.
you're just not ready for yet. You're going to be surprised by how they do.
I think what I would have liked was for season 50 to be legends and just you put Cirie and Ozzy on the cast, but you have other people like coaches, like Parvati's, like Boston Robs, like
Yeah.
Tony Blachos, legends cast, people who have won and people who have gotten really close. Amanda Kimmel, I know she was talked about. All those people. And then I would have loved a separate season, which they haven't done again, of Second Chances too. I
Right.
thought Second Chances was such an amazing season. I thought the process was amazing. I loved that we got to vote. I loved every single thing that played out. And I think that season developed the Spencers, the Kelly Wentworths, that it solidified Jeremy's legacy. That's what I would have liked to see. And let's have those people that are now playing for the second time on a different Second Chances season in like 4 or 5 seasons, season 55. Let's throw it on that.
And it wouldn't have taken anything away from Survivor 50 to have
Not
done
at all.
that for season 49.
Not at all.
You easily could have done that and then had 50 be more of like, okay, this is the season now where we're going to celebrate our history of the show. And 49 is going to, and you could have taken a couple people that like did really well on the second chance 49 and now put them, now they've made it to legend status in Survivor 50.
Yeah, and maybe I haven't looked at the cast as like critically as I should have, but like it would have been amazing. And I know the challenge is doing this too, to do like an eras and like have an old school, have like a medium, the golden ages of Survivor, have like the season 30s and then season 40s, or like, a few tribes of each of some sort. Do we know who those like mystery question mark people are yet?
So there's 2 people from Survivor 49. They have not come out and said their names of who they
Survivor
are, but I
40.
think a lot of people know who they are from season 49. But it has not come out officially in terms of who they are. Now, Bran Flakezz, can you tell me like who are the people that you feel like were the big misses that you really felt like that they should have had?
The 2 people that come to mind initially, and I know they've been in talks for a while, Shane Powers,
Yes.
right, and Sean Rector.
Okay.
Those are 2 people, but I'm fine if they do a second chance this season. I know Shane was supposed to be on the first second chances, or he was
Shane was supposed to be on like every single All-Star season that they ever did. I don't believe that they called him for Survivor 50, but he's and he has big feelings about the Survivor 50 cast. But
yeah, he would have been great.
He would have been great, but they left him hanging so many times.
Yeah, he would have been great. And Sean Rector, I've always wanted to see play again. I've been keeping up a little bit with Survivor Twitter, or Survivor X, I should say. It sounds like they did Jerry Manthe really dirty. And I would have liked to see her play, for sure. She's someone honestly prefer to see play again over Cirie and Ozzy, who I feel like have built legacies. I would have liked to see Jerry
Yeah.
kind of come back and do it.
It seems like that there's a little bit more of a clamoring for people that played 3 times, and then we want to like see them one more time for a fourth. Maybe you're saying that like, okay, and Cirie, I've seen it both ways. Of people like, I'll never be mad to see Cirie, and then also maybe it's too much. But maybe 5 times is too much for some of the players. But 4 seems like people wanted some of the 4-timers.
Yeah, I just, like I said, it goes back to like, I wish it was balanced. Like, I wish it was all people who have played 2, 3 times and winners, and then a separate cast with people who have only played once or twice.
What
I'm
if it
hoping,
was legends versus second chances? Where okay, it's people that are playing like for their like third,
that's
fourth,
cool.
and fifth time versus people that okay, they're trying to make something out of their return. And you could have had like people from the new era in second chances.
Yeah, I that would have been really cool. And if that's how they do it, there are great people on the cast too.
Hmm.
I'm really excited to see Mike White play again. I'm excited to see Angelina play again.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about Jenna Lewis. I think and honestly, I'm kind of excited for Colby too. That's just the OG in me. I'm great with them. I just wish they were joined by Amanda, Jerry, Sean, Shane, more old school love of people who like really this is like probably some of the last times they can play again. And I would have liked to see that. I just think with Survivor 50, like what show makes it to 50 seasons? And even though 40, I think, was controversial, I mean, that boot order was rough. It was an epic cast. So I think I had a lot of hopes. Like, I personally thought I was like 50 is going to be my resurgence back into the show. I'm going to watch Survivor again. I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I really don't. I'm going to try, but it's just changed so much over the last few years that it's been like, it doesn't, I don't know. I'm just going to say what I think a lot of people say. Jeff Probst needs to take a little bit of a backseat. It's a
Yes.
little, and I love Jeff Probst, but he's gotta chill.
Okay. What is it about Jeff that you feel like he needs to chill with?
It's so funny. I'm gonna show my age here, but I'll remember this conversation. I think you were a part of it. Do you remember when you used to do that show Dick at Night and you guys would talk about Survivor and Big Brother and all of that?
Evil
I
Dick
don't,
used to have Dick at Night,
yes, Dick at Night.
and I was on a couple times.
I used to pay to watch that. I would subscribe
Yes.
to Dick at Night. And I remember what season of Survivor were you guys recapping? It might have been like it was in the 30s for sure. And someone said like once Survivor kind of started like acting like it was a show, like you get on and like you're on a show, there was this level that like took it down a notch. And what I mean by that is, and especially in the newer seasons, it's like you have people, it's my dream, I've always wanted to be on it. And obviously you're gonna have it. It's a legacy show. But like when you compare it to like the openings of those first few OG seasons when you're in a helicopter and it's more positioned as like a social experiment and the survivor elements. And then, you get into like the season 20s of it all where it's still that, but it's really exciting and there's just enough twists that are good, the idol plays. It just feels so produced now, I think is what I'm trying to say. And also, and I know a lot of people feel this way too, I'm sick of it being in Fiji. It's just like I get it. They know where the island is. They know where to position all the cameras. From a production standpoint, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was exciting when you got new backgrounds and you dealt with new elements, and it has felt dull.
Mhm.
From my perspective, just always being in Fiji. I hate the final four fire making twist. Is that still a thing?
Well, season 50, Bran Flakezz, get ready for this, is in the hands of the fans. And there was a fan vote that we don't know the answer to whether
Okay.
or not they're going to keep the final four fire making.
Can I will take a big leap here and say that murdered the show. I think that was the first domino that started to kind of knock down the show. Because it just, first of all, there was so many statistics with like how like biased that actually ended up being towards the female players. And it just like was, I don't know. It was not it for me. It was not it. I did
Mhm.
not like that at all. I think you ruined one of the elements of the show, which is you are only eliminated if you are voted out. And when you now put it in the hands of, oh, if you lose a challenge, it's just no. Like we've seen people who've gotten no votes ever cast against them, and then they lose that challenge and then it's done. And it's just it just isn't, it's not for me. Yeah, I don't
All
know.
right.
And then all of these twists, it's just too much to keep track of.
Well, let's talk about. Tell me about some of the things that you love about Survivor.
Yes,
Because
there's
that you've really hit on, like, nothing that you have said is like anything that is super controversial that many
okay,
people,
good.
especially on social media, haven't said over the years. And rather than, go through each one of those in detail, I'd love to know a little bit more about, like, what are the things that really, even as a young person, the
Yeah.
things that you really connected with when you found Survivor?
Listen, the show is genius. It really is. Like, and they could make a million seasons because when you have a format of a game that is designed so perfectly, it's going to be different every time because you're going to have different people. And what's always been so fascinating to me is just general strategy and decision making and seeing how people make different choices and then kind of seeing in that lifespan of the game how those choices are going to impact them in that game, whether it's they're going to lead to them winning or they're going to lead to them voting off. And that's always been like what was fascinating to me from also just like a standpoint of just like growing up. I mean, the fact that the first, I mean, and he's controversial, but the first winner is a gay man. Like as a gay kid growing up, I was like, it's one of the first shows that I saw real
Yeah.
diversity. And the show's made so much strides as of recent years to make it half by POC. It's been great. But from jump, it was one of the more diverse shows that I watched growing up and seeing people that I actually felt like represented me in some type of way on. Like when I saw Todd win season 15, I was like, oh my God, like that's incredible. So that element I've always loved.
And that's something that John Lovett most recently spoke about, of that there was something that when, as a young gay person, he saw Richard Hatch win the first season, and that was such a big deal. And it was something that came up even that there was, I know you didn't watch Survivor 48, but that Mike Bloom from Rob is a Podcast, that he's podcast with us. He was on location in Survivor 48, and he mentioned an incident that, not an incident, it makes it sound like it was bad, a moment that didn't make the show where there was a guy named Thomas who was on the show, and he talked about how big Survivor is for gay culture and why it's just a big part of it. And Thomas told this to Jeff Probst, and Jeff Probst seemed very surprised by learning about this. And
Survivor's very gay.
Thomas was like, how do you not know this?
Yeah. No, it's so true. I go to like my gay friends in Philly, like they actually won't hang out with me on Wednesday nights because they have a Survivor watch party.
Yeah.
And I've been to the ones that Bryce and Wendell have, and it is like you go and it is a very colorful audience and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So it was impactful for me on that. I mean, I had my Survivor themed bar mitzvah. Like when I tell you my idols in life, like Parvati Shallow is my idol. Like she is my gay awakening. Like she is everything that I like.
Can you expand on that? Because it's interesting to me of that. How is Parvati your gay awakening?
Watching someone like her, who I found so attractive, but not in just like a sexual way, but like, because I'm obviously gay, but like I was just like, she's so hot. And watching her manipulate men and like do it so seamlessly, and also like getting a group of girl power behind her, like I was just like, I love that all my friends are women. I love like that we can like show these men that like, even though I'm not a woman, I just felt so connected to her and just
like
seeing
her power.
What
is she able to do? She's
like
not an object of desire.
Yeah.
She's like somebody like I wish I had that.
Yes. Like I feel like every gay guy was inspired and or jealous by Parvati. I'm like the way that she has all the girls behind her, gets rid of all the guys. Like I was just like, I loved, like she is up there with like Taylor Swift. I met her in person like 2 months ago, and I like, she probably thought I was a freak. I was like, you are my greatest obsession.
You met Parvati or Taylor Swift?
I met Parvati.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's so interesting because I think also the history of Parvati is that the straight men often fear her.
Mm-hmm.
are scared of her. Like some of
Yeah.
them are so bold as to try to get close, but
Yeah.
many are just have this irrational fear of her.
Yeah. And I also think like Survivor talking about like it's not like so much like this anymore, but I remember season 2, Alicia and Kimmy getting into that fight.
Yeah.
And what was
I
it
will
like, don't wave
always
your
wag
finger in,
my
like, yeah,
finger in your
don't wave
face.
your finger in my face. That was like the first time I saw like drama on reality TV. And I was like, oh, like Survivor really like that's Australia is one of my favorite seasons of all time. I know that might be a really hot take, but I just think it was such a legendary season with Michael Scoopin getting evacuated, the Kimmy and Alicia of it all, the Elizabeth
Yes.
Roger, and then
But you
Tino.
were 4.
And I was 4 years old, and I just remember watching this on TV and being like, there's no other show like this. Like, there's no other show like this. And it just developed. And I think to this day, if I could give anybody the greatest gift, it would be getting to watch someone watch season 20 for the first time, Heroes versus Villains. I think it's up there with Big Brother 6, Big Brother 7, like one of the best reality seasons of it. Like you just had to be there and you witnessed history. And that season, like that was like the precipice for me. That was the peak of Survivor's Hero versus Villains. And there's been amazing seasons that came after it, but like that season of like all truly just nasty cutthroatness, creative strategy, really funny moments. Like just like I'll never forget Amanda like trying to get that idol from Danielle when they're in
Yeah.
like
Treasure Island.
so many just like underrated moments from that season that don't get talked about enough because there's just so much iconicness that happened. Those are the things I love about Survivor. And that's just me being like a nostalgic old school watcher, but I haven't like felt connected. It's almost gotten like so emotional that it's taken some of the fun out of it. And it's like, hey, this is still a game where like people are still like supposed to backstab and like be
Yeah.
villains and betray. And like it just felt like modern day, it was like almost not okay for those things to happen.
Yeah, you mentioned that after Survivor 45, you walked away from the show. And now, knowing a little bit more about the things that you loved about the show, that you feel
Mhm.
like tonally, the show also, in addition to a lot of the twists that you don't love,
Yeah.
that tonally, it may have also gotten away from the Survivor that you grew up with.
You know what's fascinating? And it kind of goes back to what I just said. Like, I would love to watch someone watching season 20 through their eyes. So when Survivor, I want to say 42 came on, I just moved into an apartment with my best friend who had never watched Survivor before. And I'm like, I'm like, we're going to watch Survivor. I'm going to get you into it. You're going to love it. And she kind of hated it. And I was like, like, what? How can you hate Survivor? Like, this is Survivor. It's like the best show ever. She was like, this feels very like performative. She was like, it feels really in your face. It feels like everyone has a sob story. It feels like too much. She's like, I thought this was like a show where you like play challenges and vote each other off. She's like, this feels like very kind of cheesy. And it was weird. It was the first time where I was like, huh, it kind of does. And it
Mhm.
didn't feel like this 20 years ago. And this is going to sound insane too. I don't think we needed hour and a half long episodes. And
Yeah.
that's what happened. So I think I watched the premiere, this is when I stopped, of season 46, and I couldn't get through it. And I was like, I remember pausing and being like, oh my God, there's still another hour of this. Like, I don't think I can do this right now. And I'm not saying it's not a great show. It really is. I'm sure I could have pushed forward. But then I like would go on Twitter and be like, I would see like, this is the worst season ever. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not missing it. And I just never picked it back up.
Mhm.
Which makes me sad
Yeah.
because, like I said, this was my bar mitzvah. I watched 45 seasons of the show, and I'm not saying I'll never watch it again, but I was just really excited, thinking like, oh, season 50 is going to get me back into it. And I'm like, I don't even know half these people.
Yeah. So I think that you've really keyed into something that I've talked about for a while, where that Survivor really in the beginning of the show was really an exploration of the human condition, and specifically like a darkness perhaps of what are people willing to do to one another to get the $1 million.
Mhm.
And as the show has grown and evolved, I do feel like that the people who are making the show are less interested in telling a story about what depths are people willing to go to in order to like undermine each other to get this money. I think that they're more interested in telling a story of what are people able to get out of this experience. And I
Yeah,
think that in a lot of the
beautifully
ways
said.
this comes to that you are now, they've built this like complicated game where, okay, sort of like you need to like outmaneuver each other in this very like complicated Rube Goldberg machine
Hmm.
of the game. But if I get you, it's really just because I like, operated the levers of the machine to get you. It wasn't because I hate the person you are. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of old Survivor was there were less levers and pulleys and
Mhm.
things and buttons to press, but I wanted you out because I could not stand you as a person. And often
Yeah.
that interpersonal conflict was the reason why you got voted out, not because you have an extra vote.
Yes, exactly. And that really was it. Like I remember, like when I tell you I was such a nerd, I remember, I don't even know if they still do this. After every episode, they would do, I think it was on like E! Today, they would do 3 questions with Jeff Probst. And I would always, and it would be about the episode before. And that was the first thing I would do when I woke up on a Thursday. I would see if those questions were up. And I remember one of them, he kind of said that he was switching the show to be more about storytelling and storytelling in the castmates' perspective. And it's interesting because storytelling is what I do in my career. Like I tell my story online. That is what I want to do. And I understand that there needs to be that shift, but it went to the pendulum where we had storytelling. In one of the most impactful moments of the show is season 1. You see Rudy, this army veteran, connecting with Richard Hatch. And it's this two people who you would never put together in a room. And Rudy's like, I'm going to the end with Richard. Like he's my number one. I
He's
not believe
fat,
it.
but he's good.
Yeah, I might not believe in his lifestyle. Like, it's so problematic. But, like, it was a storyline. And then you had the moments with Zeke, and you had the moments with Brett. And that's just so many things. But now it's like everything needs to be a story. I remember in the last seasons, you knew someone was getting voted off if on episode 8 they hadn't had their like story moment yet, and then it just came out of nowhere. You're like, oh, she's done. Like now we're
Mhm.
hearing her backstory. Like, this came in episode, this is her last episode. I didn't need that. Like it was just like these are people, put them on
Yeah.
an island, the word is organic. Let it organically play out. And now because it's so produced, it's manufactured, it is cheesy, and it's in your face. I used to love Survivor because it wasn't the sob stories. I hated the show The Voice because every single contestant that auditioned was just like, my mom is in a car accident this year and it's my dream now to be a singer. And like, I'm not saying that's horrible. Like, good for you. Like, go off. But now it's like everything. I'm like, am I ever going to be able to get cast for the show? Because I've lived a pretty privileged, non-tragic life, but I still would get out there and be fucking cutthroat and play the game. But does
Mhm.
that not mean I get casting ability because I haven't lived through a trauma? Like I'm being so politically incorrect right now, but I just feel like that's what the show kind of needs.
Yeah. And I
And
think it comes from a good place. I really do. I think that
it
it's like,
does.
hey, we want all of these different parties in the audience to feel seen, and we want to tell all these like interesting stories about humanity, but that isn't necessarily why we fell in love with the show.
It's not. And I think the reason I'm being so hard on them is because I see a show like The Traders, which is existing in the exact same time period of the world, who to me is knocking it out of the park. They're having fun. They're casting bold personalities. They're
They do have
encouraging
fun.
the drama. They're making big moves. They're strategizing. And the last season of The Traders wasn't the best, but still, the last season of The Traders to me kicks any recent season of Survivor's ass. Season 2 of The Traders, when I was watching it, I was like, the fact that it's 2024 at that time and we're getting a show that is this good is not lost on me because I've been a reality TV fan. The recent seasons of The Challenge, like I said, haven't been good. Last season of Big Brother was good, still will never compare to the OGs, but it is possible to make a good reality show that's not problematic, that's still diverse, that still fits modern day standards, but is still good and is still entertaining and still focuses on strategy and making big moves and fun twists. And it isn't just oversaturated with sob stories and extra vote and spin the wheel and lose your vote and you have a don't forbidden advantage. And it's like, I felt so old, Rob, the last season I watched, I was like, I need like a key. I need a key of who has what. I remember one episode, someone played an idol. I was like, I didn't even remember that person had an idol. Like when idols first came out,
I think
like
I didn't even remember that person.
yeah, I didn't even remember that person. I'm like, I didn't even know. And she has another one in her pocket. Like someone gets voted out with an idol in their pocket. I'm like, I didn't even remember they had an idol. It's not a big deal. Where it's
Yeah.
like when James gets voted off with an idol in his pocket, it's a huge deal because there's
Two.
not that many, two of them. There's not that many of them. And it's one of the only things that you can get. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I want to know about something that you posted that got a lot of traction, and
Yeah.
maybe people may want to borrow this, that
Yeah.
you have a group chat, and sometimes you will post the phrase immunity necklace
Yeah.
in the chat.
Yeah. So immunity necklace comes from Survivor, obviously. And when you have immunity, you're safe. You can basically say or do whatever you want. You still can't get voted out if you have immunity. So we started using that as a phrase for if we were about to say something controversial. So a perfect example is, say I'm talking to a group of massive Survivor fans. I would say, immunity necklace, but the season 50 cast is trash. And that's telling them, hey, like, I'm putting this on. Y'all can't come for me. No, don't come for me. But the cast is trash. I'm saying. So, like, when we would write immunity necklace in our group chat, we knew that someone was about to say a hot take, something really controversial.
Brant, if I may push back, I feel like that's a little bit more like you're playing the immunity idol than the immunity necklace.
I'm into it.
You're like, basically, you're like Kelly Wentworth. It's like, or maybe if it's like immunity idol, if you drop the hot take and then say hidden immunity idol, it's like you were about to come for me, but like, no, Bran Flakezz does not count. Bran Flakezz does not count. I'm bulletproof now.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. But that is where it came from, and I made a video about it. It's, I think to this day, my highest viewed video, 22 million views. Jeff Probst stitched it. CBS reached out to me.
What did Jeff Probst say?
He was just like, I like this. Like, just Jeff Probst.
Good.
Like, just like smiling. He's like, this is funny. Like, I'm into it. Like, you could tell some intern was like, hey, can you just like record something?
Yeah, and he did it. And he did it.
He's
a team player. Awesome. Right.
Yeah, which was great.
Now, can you give us some other potential takes that you said in the group chat that were immunity necklace?
Yeah, like Survivor based themed, or like,
I mean, probably juicier is maybe non-Survivor based themes.
Oh, like we would be like immunity necklace, and then we would send a picture of someone maybe in like our outside friend group who we're friends with, but like she facetuned this picture so bad, or this outfit is dreadful. Just like kind of like honestly kind of nasty, like shit talking. If I'm being so honest. But it was like a signal, like, and still to this day, like we even like upgraded to a GIF where like I think it's a Parvati in that one challenge from Heroes versus Villains after she stood on the pole, where it would just like it's a zoom in of her wearing the necklace, and we would just send that in the chat to signify like, hey, this is coming. And now it's a segment on our podcast where at the end we say like, what's your immunity necklace for the week, and it's always like a hot take. So like this was a good one. We had a guest on our podcast, and her immunity necklace was, your boyfriend isn't your best friend. And she was like, I'm sick of people talking about their significant other, like their wife or their husband, being like, they're my best friend, they're my best friend. She's like, no, my best friend is my best friend. They've been my friend for 30 years. They've seen me through everything. My husband's my husband. My wife is my wife. My boyfriend's my boyfriend. They're not my best friend. And that we posted that on social media, and she got shredded for it. People were like, no, my partner is 100% my best friend. But it's supposed to be a hot take. It really is like a controversial opinion. I don't know if you've ever seen that like meme on Twitter where it's the guy from Tangled, and it's all the machetes, and it's like, what will have you like this? That's kind of the essence of immunity necklace.
Yes. Okay. Your boyfriend is not your best friend. Maybe I could do immunity necklace and then text that to my wife and say, hey, you're not my best friend. She would not recognize the immunity necklace.
She wouldn't.
I don't think so.
That would hit.
She would take it away from me like I was Eric Reichenbach.
Oh God. See, we need more moments like that. I would have watched him play again.
Yeah. You think he would have been good for 50?
I think he would have been good for 50. Just like legends. And like the word legend could have been like insane. Like it could have been like for doing something legendarily like stupid like that, or like anything, just like big pivotal moments.
Mhm.
I want to see freaking Dreams steal the car from Yao Man again. Like, let's be fucked up
Should they
again.
bring them both back and then
Well,
have
let's.
another car giveaway?
I don't think I need to see Yao Man again, but let's
Mhm.
do the car giveaways were like insane. Or
Should they
when
have that be back for 50? Would that bring you back if they gave away a car?
let's get Brenda and Dawn back and take out your
Yes.
teeth. Take out your teeth, Dawn.
You like these moments.
I like those moments. I want Corinne telling Susie that she'll give her $1 million if she agrees to take out her vocal cords.
You would never see that now.
You would never, and you can't. Like, and
Yeah.
that's what makes me sad. I'm like, if someone like Parvati came back on, would she be praised or would she be shamed, you know? And it's weird because you would think as we get more progressive as a society that she would be more praised, but it's like, are people also in the same way getting too sensitive? So
Mhm.
it's
Did you
it's a
watch her
slippery
play
slope.
Deal or No Deal Island?
I watched the first 2 episodes. I
Call
didn't
it
get that far.
Gandhi.
Was it good? How is she doing on Survivor Australia?
It didn't happen yet.
Oh, it didn't happen yet. Okay. I'll watch that. I watched the first 2 episodes of Deal or Deal No Island, but I need to keep going. I did like it. She was doing good when I was watching it.
Yeah. Okay. Brandon pulled some links for me that he sent me that you were out on the set of Bachelor in Paradise. Can you talk
Yes.
about how you got involved with that?
Yeah, I've been working with Hulu and which is owned by ABC for a while. And they do a bunch of shows. So last year we went on a trip to Vegas with Vanderpump Rules and Vanderpump Villa. And then they invited me to
What's
Costa.
Vanderpump Villa?
Vanderpump Villa is a spinoff of Vanderpump Rules, where it's this like chateau that Lisa Vanderpump lives in. She has like a cast of bartenders, chefs, and they all like hook up and it's messy. But then they also
It's like a below deck of
like a below
yeah.
deck. Yeah. So they have people come into the villa, they serve them, things go haywire, and there's just a bunch of drama. So
Got
when
it.
that premiered last year, we went on a trip with them, and a lot of the same group was invited to go to Costa Rica with Bachelor in Paradise. We got to like interview the cast and stuff. My dream is for one day, and I heard that Survivor did some kind of a trip where they had
Yes.
influencers, like
Yeah, they had
how I was not
influencers
contacted,
that
like makes
were
me want to die.
it sounds like that and maybe I think that's going to be in the fall. I don't know if there's but like they were a lot of them were like posting that they were there.
Yeah.
So that they did like an influencer and I think that they played like a couple days of Survivor. Would you have done that?
I would have done that. 100%. I would have done that.
Yeah. I saw some people saying like, "Hey, this is no joke."
Yeah, I would have totally done that. And I hope that Survivor and CBS gets a little more less rigid when it comes to that kind of thing. Because even when Jeff Probst like stitched my video like that, he stitched it like I want to say like 3 or 4 months after it was posted. Like you can tell it went through a lot of layers of approval before
They need to be like a little bit more like
Need to be a
rolling with the
little-
punches.
for sure. Like
They
it's
want to be they look, and I understand it's a like big institution and they're
Yeah.
very protective of it, but you have to have fun.
it's weird because they're casting Gen Z.
That's why I'm so loosey goosey on
catering-
Rob as a podcast.
Yeah, they're catering to Gen Z in a lot of ways, but they're not showing up on social media. They're not doing fun things, and they kind of, I feel like,
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah. Okay. And in that thinking of that, we're so loosey goosey on Rob's podcast. Okay. As a professional content creator, what
Yeah.
can we be doing better on Rob as a podcast?
Oh my
As
God.
somebody who's a longtime listener.
Well, do you post clips of this on like TikTok and Instagram?
Oh, yeah. We'll post
Yeah.
clips, baby.
Yeah. Clips are great. I mean, that's really.
Give us a good clip. Not to say that you haven't yet, but what's a clip that'll go viral?
Oh my God. I don't know. You could freaking take me saying I don't need to see Cirie and Ozzy playing again. I'm sure that will go viral.
Mhm. Okay.
But yeah, I think if you're posting on clips and you're I think doing stuff like this, honestly, interviewing different people. Like I was in the Rob Has a Podcast days where it was you and Brent like every day, and watching. But I think it's
You
fun
would
when
watch the
you're, like-
live feeds.
I would watch the live feeds. Like I remember, oh my God, this is so funny. I remember you guys, one of the first ones I watched for like all the way through was Big Brother 15, one of the worst
Yes.
seasons ever. You guys did like, you do like cast evaluations where you say at the end, this person will be preacher, this person will make final
Sure.
2, middle of the road. Like that's how long I've been watching you, Rob.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love when you guys do that kind of stuff because I think the pre-show excitement is honestly like I'm more invested in Big Brother before it actually airs. And then like the first week I'm on, and then you start to trickle.
Exciting.
Yeah. The excitement always gets me. So always hit those like are you doing Love Island?
So we have a Love Island podcast. We know Love Island, and you can
Okay.
check that out. But that's Kirsten and Scally doing that coverage. But yeah, that's a big one on Peacock.
That's a big
You didn't
one.
go out to Love Island, did you?
No, they did a trip 2 years ago. But I recently watched that season, and that was like, I loved it. So keeping up with those trendy shows too. Do you guys do a lot of trader stuff?
We do a lot of trader stuff.
Definitely, I'll come on anytime because I do love to talk about this.
You'll come on and talk about the traders with us?
I'll talk about the traders. I will watch Survivor if I get to do some recaps with you. Then I'll watch it and we can talk about it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I think and you have we were talking about this before we recorded. Like, if anyone's always like, Survivor podcast, Rob has a podcast, always. And you're good at like just being real and funny and like kind of, making your little remarks. But like, you also keep it brand safe. Like, you're a professional, Rob.
I try to like, there's a push and a pull of like, I do try to like, I take it very seriously. I do feel like a lot of responsibility of like, I want to be on the right side of history in terms of like getting it right in terms of like breaking everything down. But we have to have fun also, because if the podcast isn't fun, people aren't going to listen.
Yeah. And it's fun to like listen to you guys because like I never know if my takes are like what everyone's thinking. So it's nice like when I would listen to an episode and be like, okay, they have the exact same thoughts that I did on that episode. And that's what I like. It's more like, I feel justified and validated when I hear you guys say like some of the same things that I'm thinking and feeling.
Now, Brandon also sent me a link about how you've been doing some interviews about how you make plenty of money being a content creator.
Yes.
He was very interested. I'm like, Brandon, I don't really care so much about this. He's like, no. This is super interesting. Bran Flakezz makes bank.
This is a
clip. Like, I don't like to get into like financial stuff. He's like, no.
Yeah. Yes, I do make a very great living doing.
You're comfortable.
I'm comfortable. Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do I need to go on Survivor? I'm like making Survivor money, without having to go on Survivor.
Yeah, so it's actually so funny. So I did this Barstool Sports show 2 years ago that was sort of similar to like a Survivor Big Brother.
What happened to you? Did anybody?
I got robbed. I got second place, and it was an America's vote. America voted who won, and I lost by 2%. So I got robbed. It's called, if anyone wants to watch, it's literally 6 episodes. It's 30-minute episodes. It's called Project Verified. You can look it up on YouTube.
Project Verified.
I think you might like it, Rob. You'll see when you watch it, you can see that I watch Big Brother and Survivor because I'm very strategic.
Yeah.
But the prize for that show was $25,000, and I remember just being on the set and being like, all right, well, that's like nothing to me.
You're like Jeff Kent. It's like, I don't even care about it. I made so much money playing baseball. Yeah, and Obama's going to take it, but like, I wanted to win.
I remember Jeff Kent. Yeah. But yeah, no, I make a decent living doing content creation. It's really amazing. I try to give back a lot to communities and definitely like use my platform to help small businesses and local businesses here in Philadelphia and raise awareness for like the causes. Like anyone who follows me, like going back to the Elizabeth Hasselbeck of it all, knows I'm like extremely liberal, extremely anti a lot of things. We don't have to get into it on Rob Has a Podcast. But if you follow me, you know where I stand politically, morally. And I use my platform to really advocate for a lot of those issues as well. And part of the reason I actually shared my salary was that I've been having conversations with a lot of Black and brown content creators that were doing similar projects to me, but were not getting paid nearly the amount I was getting paid. So I was like, you know what, let's speak about it. Let's be more transparent about what we're all making. And maybe that can help swing the pendulum in an effort to make everything more fair. If we all know like, hey, why is Bran Flakezz getting paid $30,000 to post this video and I'm only getting paid $10,000, So that's kind of, I wasn't just like going on a podcast.
I don't even get paid anything to post a video. Yeah.
I wasn't going on to be like, hey, like I make $1 million just to like flex that. I was on a financial.
Yeah, again, Bran Flakezz, I didn't even Brandon Donlin was like, oh, you gotta mention this. This is very important.
Which it's a trendy topic. So he did his
Yeah, he did his homework. Okay. Listen, you have an incredible platform. You have an incredible reach. But is
Yeah.
there anything that maybe you want people to check out that might be listening to this podcast and maybe hearing you for the first time?
Yeah, check out my pages. Check out my TikTok, brand 2_flakes with 2 Z's. Same thing on Instagram, brand_flakes with 2 Z's. My goal, I would love maybe soon if the traders started casting some social media stars. Like that's the show that I want to play now.
Yeah. That
Hot
would be
take
good to see some social media stars play.
Yeah, and I feel like we could, like, if we're getting freaking Sam, who dated Britney Spears, on, like, why can't I go on? Like, that guy was a dud. Put me on there.
Listen, he look, he ended.
He did come at the end. He ended well.
He ended my Traders podcast co-host. So just like he's listening.
Wait, he did?
Yeah,
I didn't
he
see
came
this.
for him. He came for him.
Who was your Traders podcast co-host?
Puya.
What happened?
He said, "Hey, Puya, I heard what you said about me, and I was taking notes. I have the receipts."
Oh, well, I definitely want to do a Traders recap with you.
Okay.
For sure. I'll call anytime you need a guest, I'm here. But yeah, just follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram. I have a podcast too, Between Us Girlies. Give us a listen. We do an immunity necklace segment every week, which is obviously inspired by Survivor.
Yes. All right. Let's bring Brandon Donlin. Is there anything that we missed? He did his homework. Let's see.
It was a situation I'm proud of.
Yes. Okay.
But I don't think we missed anything. I think that all went great.
Okay.
We covered it. I don't seem like too much of a hater, you guys.
No, not at all.
Look, I don't think you're saying anything that we haven't heard more than once on Rob's podcast.
Rob, I want to ask you, what is your thoughts on the season 50 cast, and who's missing for you?
Yeah. So I really feel like that, to speak to a lot of the points that you made, I thought it was going to be more of the old school flavor. Yeah. Like I really felt like that, especially with some of the things that we were hearing about the Survivor 50 casting. I thought that we were going to have more people, that it was going to be, all right, let's bring back in baseball, they'll have like Old Timers Day. Right. And it's like, okay, we're going to bring back all of the people. And it was like a really great point Evan Ross Katz made on the podcast recently. Like when they did SNL 50, that they brought back, okay, here's people from like all these different casts of the show. It wasn't just, okay, a few people from the old days, but also a lot about the people that are currently on SNL.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think? Did you do a winner's pick yet?
I think that my official winner pick, I think I'm going to say, is Tiffany. I think you don't even know who that is. There's a woman named Tiffany. Nobody's gunning for her. I think she's going to do very well. I think Mike White also could do very well.
Who do you think? Do you think it's going to kind of follow in the footsteps of 50? Do you think our Colbys and our Jenners are going out pre-jury?
I think so. I think it maybe not specifically them, but I think that the new era, I think, is more likely that they know each other, are more likely to be sticking together. I think the old era people might be a little bit more like, hey, let me just hang on. Okay, what do I care? All right, I'll say goodbye to this person. Like, yeah, I don't know Jenna Lewis. I don't know Colby. Sure.
How do you think Stephanie and Ozzy are going to do?
I don't think particularly well.
Okay. Okay. We'll have to. I will watch just because I'm curious.
Yeah, we got to see how it's going to go after all this.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Check out everything Bran Flakezz has going on. We love to read your comments. Brandon Donald, anything that you want to promote?
No, I'm so thrilled. This was so fun to listen to. So I'm the happiest I've ever been.
Oh yeah. By the way, check it out this weekend. That we have a great podcast coming to our patron podcast feed. Brandon Donlin said, "Hey, I got an idea. Let me cook, okay? I want all of my funny Survivor friends to come over, and we want to do a Survivor first boot draft." And I said, okay, go for it. That's going to be coming to the patron podcast feed only Sunday night. We're going to bring you Brandon's first boot draft for Survivor 50.
Bran Flakezz, who do you think is the first boot of Survivor 50 while we're here?
Can we pull up the cast really quick?
I think we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how fast
where you pull it up from.
I'm going to Google and talk at the same time.
The bad
news
we had
a great.
You're not going to know who about like
I know
11 of the people are.
Do we think that a modern, like one of the new people, is going to be first boot?
I don't.
Okay, so then I'll know. Let me look.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look.
I just put it in the private
Okay.
chat here. Actually, let me see if I can't share my
Oh yeah,
screen.
this is perfect. Oh, I'm gonna go Rogue.
Go Rogue.
Can I also, why is Jonathan playing again? Like, what was his impact?
He's
What
big.
He's big.
is he?
Big guy.
He's
Big,
remarkably
strong
big.
guy.
Okay, I just remember him being kind of like a dud, to be honest.
Sure.
I could see it being Aubrey.
Aubrey.
That's a good. I don't remember where Aubrey went in the draft, and even if I did, you
Here's
have to watch
why.
the patrons to find out.
I remember Aubrey being kind of a disappointment on Game Changers. I wasn't. She was
She
kind
had a
of
hard time finding her footing, but she came back a time after that too.
what when was yeah, and
She was on the
didn't,
edge of extinction.
and she didn't do well either.
She
Like
didn't do well. She's
was
had
kind of like-
diminishing returns. So a first boot for
diminishing
Aubrey
returns.
would continue in that trend line.
I don't think this is why I'm going to say Aubrey, and I hope she proves me wrong because I really do like Aubrey. But I think when you go on those first boots, especially on All-Star seasons, there's two things that really, one, you don't have a good group of people you're not in the big alliance, which we've seen on her first two returning seasons was a struggle for her in the beginning. She's not a dominant person in challenges. And I just think old school wise, it might be too much to vote off a huge old school name first. Like, I don't think Ozzy's going to be first boot. He's a challenge beast. They're going to keep him around for a few rounds. But someone like Aubrey might fall through the cracks. I don't know. She could. I would not be surprised if Aubrey is. You also kind of do want a big name to be the first boot in some ways, like, because it does really like excite. Like, holy crap! Like, they were the first person voted off. Like, that's major. Like, and she does have enough legend status that's kind of an eyebrow raise if she's the first one to go. So I hope she proves me wrong though, because I like Aubrey.
Okay. All right. Bran Flakes, thank you so much. Check out Brandon's first boot draft on Patreon this weekend for the link to that. robhasawebsite.com/patron. Or we just started this on Apple Podcasts. You can get our bonus patron content also on Apple Podcasts for $7.99 a month. That's a brand new thing that we just opened. And so available on Spotify also is our patron content. If you unlock it with a patron account, lots of different ways to listen to all of our fun bonus content here on Rob Has a Podcast. Thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.